Preparing to send your child to college can be an exciting yet emotional journey, but it could turn stressful when it comes to the financial side of things and figuring out how you can afford it. Well, here to talk about funding for college is financial planner Scott Braddock with Scott Braddock Financial. Scott, thanks for joining us. He is taking your financial questions. Be sure to send those to the number on your screen there, 336-379-5775. Okay, let's start with this. How should we look to fund college for our student?
Well, there's a number of different ways to prepare your student for college when it comes to funding. Loans seem to be the most popular. There's many different types of loans. You have government loans, private loans. We really want to make sure that when we are investigating those loans that we're taking a close look at the fine print. For example, the grace period. It lets you know how much time you have from when your student graduates to when they're required to start making payments. So important to understand the loan details. There's different ways that you can save for college. 529 plans are a very popular way of saving as well. These offer some really nice tax incentives. Essentially, they can use the money that is saved and accrued in these 529 plans tax-free for educational purposes.
The next question, what are the first steps in creating a financial plan?
Well, the first thing that you want to do is sit down with a financial professional. There's fiduciary advisors like myself that'll sit down with you at no cost and help you map out your financial plan. What I want to emphasize here is it really depends on where you are in life. If you're in the early stages of saving, you're younger, let's say between 25 and 40, then you're in the accumulation phase of life. You're simply just trying to save money, put money away. Eventually, you're going to enter into the distribution phase of life. And this is where you're going to start using, ideally, a lot of the money that you save. So we want to plan for both phases of those life. And it's really important that in the accumulation phase that you have more of a financial plan that shows you where the numbers are, and there's a lot of calculations involved there. But what I want to emphasize is that once you get towards that distribution phase of life, you want a retirement plan. You need something that is uniquely specific to your dreams and your hopes and desires for retirement.
I think that's well said too. You know, you encourage investing with a purpose. What do you mean by that?
Oh, that's a great point to talk about and expand on. You know, when we set up investment accounts, you want a certain idea or purpose behind what that bucket of money is going to be for. It's going to help you figure out how much risk, because you're always going to be looking at a risk reward factor. The more risk you take, the more upside potential is what is expected. And ultimately, what is your time horizon? What exactly are you trying to accomplish with this bucket? Example would be, is it for college? Sometimes folks will set aside money in a particular account, and it is earmarked for their child's college education. If you have a better understanding, a better vision of what your desire is for your money, the more likely you are to actually reach your goals and objectives.
You know, you mentioned risk, so that's the big question. When should we really kind of dial back risk when it comes to investing?
So going back to that accumulation phase and that distribution phase, right? So in accumulation phase, it's very common for folks to take on more risk. They have a larger window in which they plan to work. They're able to make up for the downturns in the market, which will happen. And then once you get to that distribution phase of life, you really need to do things differently. And probably to keep it simple, what folks do is they just tailor off from the risk. They lower the risk by putting protection before growth. So it's just switching your game plan up to make sure you're preserving what you've managed to accumulate during that accumulation phase of life.
Okay, so the other really big thing, everyone knows sports betting is now legal in North Carolina, and those winnings are taxable. So how should sports betting winning, or how are they taxable rather? Yeah.
Well, that's right. The IRS has had a plan in place for taxing your gambling winnings well before this explosion of sports betting, specifically online. So, in short, you will pay taxes on your winnings just like you pay taxes on your paycheck and when you sell stock and have capital gains. So, we're going to pay taxes there, and you're required to report those winnings. Now, once you have won, $600 or more, they're going to send you a form. It's a W-2G form. It's going to show where you gained those winnings, how much they were, and so that you can keep track of that information when it comes time to file for taxes, because the IRS is also going to get a copy of that form. Now, take note, if you're fortunate enough to make or win over $5,000, something happens here that's going to be different. The government's going to step in and they're automatically going to withhold 24% in taxes before you receive those winnings. So just keep that in mind. Of course, that could be a good problem to have.
I think that's really good advice too. So if we're bringing it back to college, when parents are planning and they have young kids, what's your advice to them as well?
Okay, so one piece of advice is that you don't have to wait until your student graduates from college to start paying at least the interest on those loans. This is something that is really overlooked, but can have a significant impact if you're just simply paying the interest on those loans during your college tenure. Now, the other thing that is really important for parents to keep in mind and guardians that are helping support a college student is remember, you can always take out a loan for college. There is not a loan available for retirement. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're keeping your focus on your long-term objectives and goals. That way, it's a win-win for your college student and yourself once you reach that retirement age.
I love this. This is a great conversation, very timely with inflation among other things that we deal with. So send in your questions and we'll keep answering them. We'll be back after this break.